Before we step into the cursed moonlight, join our fellowship of story seekers. Subscribe now, and let the legends find you every time the stars awaken. The stars wept silver tears across the midnight sky the very night King Elrian was cursed. In the kingdom of Vaindrel, people whispered of that dreadful night as if the heavens themselves mourned their sovereign. King Elrian had once been the pride of the realm, a warrior who tamed wild beasts, a ruler who brought rivers to barren lands. Yet beneath his crown burned an insatiable hunger for power, and that hunger drew him to the forbidden temple of Lunara, goddess of the moon. It was said no mortal could step into her sanctuary without being marked. Still, Elrian entered alone. At dawn he returned pale as bone, his once golden eyes now a shimmering, unnatural silver. He spoke no word of what he had seen. From that day onward, every full moon brought terror. The castle guards would bolt the gates shut while servants lit fires in every hall. The people of Vaindrel locked themselves in cellars and prayed. For when the moonlight touched their king, his body twisted, his voice shattered into howls, and his form became something neither man nor beast. Claws, fur, fangs, and eyes that blazed like broken stars. Elrian, once their savior, became their nightmare. At first, the kingdom's scribes insisted it was merely a tale, a curse spoken by frightened villagers. But soon bodies were found, ripped apart, clawed beyond recognition. And always the killings happened when the moon hung heavy and bright. Mercy, the people cried. End his suffering before he ends us all. But how does one kill a king who cannot die? Swords shattered against him. Arrows burned to ash before striking true, and poison turned to sweet wine on his lips. It was said Lunara herself had bound him with immortality, not as a blessing but as punishment. The curse spread like wildfire across the land. Crops withered in his shadow. Rivers grew black when he bathed in them, and children were born pale-eyed, marked with fragments of his sin. A kingdom once flourishing under his reign now rotted under his moonlit torment. Yet amid the despair a prophecy surfaced. It spoke of a child not yet born, one who would carry the blood of both man and moon, destined to end the reign of the moonbound king. And so the people waited. They watched the stars. They feared every silver night, because as long as the moon rose, so did their king. On a storm-lashed night when the moon hid behind shrouds of black clouds, a child was born with eyes the color of winter frost. Her name was Seliora. The midwives trembled when they saw her gaze, too pale, too unearthly, as if the moon itself had etched its mark into her soul. Her mother, a healer from the mountain village of Thalin, clutched the infant with trembling hands. Her father, a wandering scholar, read the child's fate in silence, for he knew the prophecy well. The kingdom had waited generations for this moment, the birth of one who carried the moon's shadow. By the time Seliora could walk, strange things stirred around her. Animals bowed their heads in her presence. Water rippled when she sang. At night, her dreams burned with visions of silver forests and ruined thrones. Sometimes, she woke screaming with the sound of howls, echoing in her mind howls that matched the cursed king's voice. The villagers both revered and feared her. Some left gifts at her door, herbs, charms, offerings of bread. Others whispered behind closed shutters that she was a demon child, a spark of the king's monstrous curse. The council of elders debated endlessly. Was she salvation or doom? Her father believed in destiny. He taught her ancient runes, the history of Vaindrel, and the story of King Elrian's curse. The goddess bound him, he said, his voice low as if walls themselves could betray him. But she also left the key to unbinding him. That key, Seliora, may live within you. Years passed, and the shadow of the moonbound king only deepened. Entire villages vanished after nights of silver light. Travelers spoke of forests turned to wastelands, rivers running dry and roads littered with bones. Wherever the king wandered, ruin followed. The people's hope, fragile, thin as glass, rested upon a girl still learning who she was. When Seliora turned 16, the vision sharpened. She saw the cursed king not as a monster, but as a man trapped, tormented, begging wordlessly behind his beastly form. His silver eyes locked with hers through the dreamscape, and she felt something stir in her chest. Pity, fear, or the strange pull of a fate she had not chosen? Then came the night of her first true trial. The moon rose full and fierce, casting its silver light across the valley. The villagers fled to their cellars, but Seliora remained outside. She heard it, the growl, the footsteps, the breaking of branches. The moonbound king had come to her village, and for the first time, instead of running, Seliora stepped forward to meet him. The ground trembled beneath clawed steps as the moon bound. King emerged from the tree line. His form was monstrous, towering, draped in fur blacker than night, muscles rippling with unnatural strength. His fangs caught the silver glow, dripping with a hunger that had devoured countless lives. Yet his eyes were not wholly beast. They were human, gleaming with sorrow that no roar could hide. Seliora stood barefoot in the moonlight, her frost-colored eyes unflinching. The villagers hidden in their cellars prayed she would flee, but she did not. Something within her whispered, "If you run, the curse will run forever. If you stay, perhaps it can be broken." The beast snarled, circling her. His claws tore into the earth, his breath a furnace of rage. Seliora raised her hand, not in defense, but in calm offering. The howl that followed shook the heavens, yet when it ended, the creature did not strike. He stopped, muscles quivering, as though some invisible chain bound him to her gaze. In that instant, the visions returned. Seliora saw flashes of another time, King Elrian kneeling before the goddess Lunara, begging for power, the silver flame that consumed his eyes, the curse that chained him to endless nights of blood. But she saw something else too, his silent plea for release. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "You are not only a beast, you are still a king." The creature's body lurched backward, his form shuddering, torn between man and monster. His claws dug trenches in the soil as he fought the transformation. A guttural voice, broken but human, rasped from his throat. "Why do you not run?" Seliora's heart thundered, but she stood firm. "Because I was born for this." The words seemed not her own, but placed within her by fate. The king roared again, this time not in fury, but in despair. He turned, fleeing into the woods, vanishing as suddenly as he had come, leaving only silence behind. The villagers emerged at dawn, expecting to find their homes destroyed. Instead, they found Seliora unharmed, standing where the beast had halted. For the first time in years, the moonbound king had left a village unscathed. But Seliora knew this was only the beginning. The visions grew sharper after that night, drawing her toward the ruined capital where Elrian's throne still stood beneath the cracked dome of his forsaken castle. Whispers followed her wherever she went. The child of shadows walks with destiny. She will face the king not as prey, but as judge. And so, with nothing but her father's runes and her mother's courage, Seliora set her path toward the fallen heart of Vaindral. The king awaited. The castle of Vaindral rose like a broken tooth against the horizon. Its towers leaned, shattered by time, and its once gilded gates sagged open, twisted by the claws of the very king who once ruled within. Seliora entered at twilight, the last embers of day, staining the stone red as if the walls themselves bled from old wounds. Her footsteps echoed in halls where no voices had spoken for decades. The air was thick with dust and memory, but something else moved within the silence, a pull, an unseen force guiding her deeper. She followed it through ruined corridors until she reached the throne room. There beneath the cracked dome sat the throne of Elrian, a silver chain, glimmering faintly in the dying light, coiled across the seat like a serpent. And upon that throne appeared a figure not of flesh but of moonlight itself. Lunara, the goddess of the moon. Her presence froze the air. She was both beautiful and terrible, her form shifting between radiant queen and endless shadow. Her voice was the sound of wind on water, soft yet sharp enough to pierce bone. "You walk willingly into the curse, child," Lunara said, her eyes twin crescents of silver flame. "Do you know what you seek?" Seliora's hands trembled, but she did not bow. "I seek to free him." The goddess's smile was cold. "Free him? He begged me for eternal power. He chose to wear the chain I gave. He is not victim, he is prisoner of his own hunger." "But he suffers," Seliora pressed. "Every howl is a plea. I have seen it." Lunara rose, her silver chains rattling as if alive. "You see fragments, child, because you are the one woven into his fate. You are shadow to his moon. The prophecy marked you before your first breath." Seliora's heart pounded. "Then tell me, how do I break it?" The goddess's gaze darkened. "Every chain has its key, but a key can lock as well as free." She stretched her hand, and in her palm shimmered a dagger forged of pure moonlight, its blade thin as a whisper. "This is the only path. Pierce his heart beneath the full moon, and the curse will end." Seliora reached for the weapon, but hesitation rooted her feet. Kill him? Was that truly release, or only another chain? Lunara's form began to fade, her voice echoing like a final toll of a bell. Choose wisely, child of shadows. The end of the king is written in your hand. But whether you bring him mercy or doom, that choice will bind you forever. As the goddess vanished, the silver dagger remained, glowing faintly in Seliora's grasp, and outside the moon was rising. The moon rose swollen in silver, casting its cold light across the ruins of Vendrel. Seliora stood at the heart of the broken courtyard, the dagger of moonlight trembling in her grip. Around her the air quivered with an unnatural silence, as if even the night creatures held their breath. She knew he would come. She had felt his presence in every dream, every whisper of prophecy. The howl split the heavens. From the shadows the moon-bound king emerged. His form towered, monstrous and wild, eyes blazing like shattered stars. Yet when his gaze fell upon Seliora, he did not strike. He staggered forward, torn between fury and recognition. "Why would you carry her blade?" His voice was broken, a war between beast and man. Seliora steadied herself, though her heart pounded like a drum. "To end your suffering, to end this curse." The king's laugh was ragged, hollow. "You think death is mercy? You know nothing of chains. This is not Lunara's cruelty alone. This is my sin." He stepped closer, his shadow stretching over her. "I wanted power to protect my people, but greed twisted it. I am the ruin I sought to prevent." His voice cracked, the beast within clawing to silence him. "If you strike, child, strike not for vengeance. Strike for release." The dagger pulsed in Seliora's hand, burning brighter with every heartbeat. Yet doubt tore at her. She had seen his humanity in her visions, glimpsed the man behind the monster. Could she kill a king who was both executioner and prisoner of himself? The moon blazed overhead and the curse surged. Elrian roared, his body writhing as the beast overtook him fully. Claws slashed, stone shattered. The courtyard trembled as if the earth itself feared him. He lunged, yet even in his fury, his strike veered wide, as though a fragment of the man still held back. Seliora lifted the dagger. Time slowed. She saw not a monster, but a weary king, chained for eternity by his own folly. With tears burning her eyes, she whispered, "Be free." The blade plunged into his chest. A silence fell, deeper than death. Silver light burst from the wound, consuming the beast in a storm of radiance. Elrian's roar softened into a sigh, his monstrous form unraveling into fragments of moonlight. For the briefest moment, his human face appeared, tired, sorrowful, grateful. "Thank you," he breathed. And then he was gone. The chains of Lunara shattered across the sky like falling stars. The curse lifted. The land exhaled. Rivers flowed clear again. The earth stirred. And the people felt hope return for the first time in a century. Seliora stood alone in the ruins, the dagger dissolved into dust. She was not hailed as conqueror, nor crowned as queen. She was simply the girl who ended a nightmare. And yet when she gazed at the moon, she thought she saw a faint, kind smile written across its glow. The curse was broken, but legends never truly die.